District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, Sheriff Todd Baxter, Policy Messenger James Finley Jr. in Penfield Town Court, Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. My name is Chris Rochester. I live in Rochester, New York. I'm an innocent man. This is what I sent to you today. I'm going to read this brief cover letter. Your copy down here, District Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office, including $0 Michael Rather. I want to contact New York State Controller Thomas B. DiNapoli to demand answers from you, Todd Baxter. If you pay Michael Rather private money to go into the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, what's your answer to the duly elected state controller, Todd Baxter? January 16, 2023. Todd K. Baxter, Sheriff, 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14604. This photograph is why you're a fanatic. This photograph is why you're an extremist. This photograph is why you're a liar. This photograph is why I know the name of your $67,000 disgusting hack, Shannon Meyer. This photograph is why people hate the police. Christopher Chichester, 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York. Copy 2. Trinity Ross, United States Attorney for the Western District of New York. Paul C. Letcher, James Finley Jr. in Penfield Town Court. Mark Phelps, Regina Harper, the Office of Public Defender. Perry Duckles, the District Attorney's Office. Michael Rather, Sheriff's Office. Perry Duckles, this is why you're corrupt. Language requires precision. I'm not trying to engage in any hyperbole. I'm not trying to be inflammatory. I contacted you on January 1, Perry Duckles. You are a sworn member of the bar, and I'm demanding the names of my prosecutors assigned to my court appearances that have never talked. It's more than 2 weeks ago. What is wrong with you, Perry Duckles? And I believe, as I've said repeatedly, as you're the de facto district attorney who no one elected in Monroe County because of the radical decline of the health of Sandra Doorley. Am I right or wrong, Perry Duckles? You can contact me here at this address. Perry Duckles, January 1, 2023. This is included in documentation that's going to be signed for with the District Attorney's Office. You will have a hard copy of this. It's District Attorney's Office. January 1, 2023, Perry Duckles, District Attorney, 47 South Fitzhugh, Rochester, New York, 14604. Attached in PDF is a 61-page Freedom of Information Law document dated December 2022 that arrived in your office via UPS. This documentation also arrived December 22nd and December 26, 2022 via UPS. It was tracked. You have it. Print each, bring it to your corrupt boss, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Tell us pathetic accumulation of health afflictions to send the information to my UPS address below. Includes the names of my prosecutor's silence. What's not to understand? I've demanded the names of my prosecutor's silence for 18 months. I'll be in court again because your fellow psychopaths know it only takes one corrupt judge, like Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court, Paul C. Metz from Little Penfield Town Court, to declare me guilty of criminal charges you concoct. A prosecutor's never talked in court for me. Yet I've been in jail 6 times. This is fanaticism and hatred at your office that deserves the attention of the United States Department of Justice. You received the same FOIL documentation dated January 2nd, 2023, January 3rd, 2023, that compels you to disclose the names of my prosecutor's silence. You will continue to refuse and crave in silence. Then it's YouTube, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Judge Alex Renzi, YouTube for Laura Riley again. It's because my ex-girlfriend took everything I once owned out of my residence to a storage locker in Webster. My sister Barbara stomach attacked with Glenwood, Maryland, refused to pay for it, and I lost everything. This is an illegal eviction I've talked about, which I'm not going to talk about here. But I'll write a criminal complaint about this. Here's my address, Christopher Chichester, 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604. Perry Duckles, do you fail to understand the English language? And you do. You're corrupt, Perry Duckles. That's why you ignored this. Language requires precision. I'm demanding a simple thing from you, which I've demanded repeatedly. I've also emailed you before, and I have to check my Gmail, see that prior email that I sent you, and I will find and also say that. It's about 6 months ago or thereabouts. Perry Duckles, do you fail to understand why you are corrupt? This is why. I'm telling you to disclose the names of my prosecutors assigned to my cases, and you're refusing. And if you can't do it and contact me, you can certainly walk into the office of your boss, whose health is in collapse and decline, and tell her what I'm demanding. I'm not demanding of you any internal records. This is a public proceeding, Perry Douglas. You're absolutely corrupt. And I've been in contact with you right here. This is the UPS. What I just sent to you here this letter arrived. This photograph is why you're a fanatic. This photograph is why you're an extremist. This photograph is why you're a liar. This photograph is why I know the name of your $67,000 disgusting hack. This photograph is why people hate the police. And this is it. It's the high-resolution color photo. That Todd Baxter is the surveillance device that I was on. Todd Baxter, is this private technology at 2025 Penfield Road? Or did you expend taxpayer dollars from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? I believe that if an employee of the United States Department of Justice calls you and demanded that you disclose this information to me, you would still refuse. I was on it. It has an assigned number called an ICN number. What's the answer, Todd Baxter? This is fanaticism. And then when I'm calling it a surveillance device accurately, because I've been showing the images, because Gina Harper sent me the links from this contraption. You party-switching Stojan buffoon. And you'll still lie about it. You cannot control your compulsion to lie and dissemble. Todd Baxter, you cannot control yourself because you're corrupt. Is this private technology, or did you buy it and affix it for me? Remain in that stone-cold silence of corruption because it defines you. You skinhead stooge and party switcher. You will say anything because you are fanatically obsessed with power. And this is why you're sick and disturbed. When I was evicted, I lost everything, including my birth certificate. When I need something important, it's always registered my return receipt. This is the New York State Department of Health, Bureau of Vital Records in Albany, New York. My friend John Signan was the official spokesman of the Department of Health. And I used to go see John at this building. So I think about John when I hold up something like this. I never thought that I'd be writing where he used to work for my birth certificate. That is a lunatic fringe. So, again today for the printing. Patrick's printing $172.04. And then another one, this is just today alone, $154 because I went there twice. So I'm getting different things, what I'm demanding of you. And everything I'm demanding of you that you will receive again in the next 48 hours, you've received your certified mail return receipt. I'm not going to read them again. And I've read these here previously. Every single one of these I read. That's a stack of cards that comes back to me. These will come back to me again. And you'll still refuse. And the UPS, when I'm demanding names of my prosecutors, I'm going to make copies of all this. I'm going to put these on a white sheet of paper, every UPS receipt here, so it can be seen clearly with your names on it, the tracking, which I will send to the Department of Justice. When I send all this to the Department of Justice, when I make copies of this, so it can be seen clearly, and it's done in a professional way, and I think it's going to be on 50 pages, perhaps 100 pages, and I'll say to the employees of the Department of Justice, especially Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark, this is how many times I've demanded my prosecutor's silence from Sandra Doorley. And she's refused. This is how many times I've demanded from Todd Baxter the cost of that surveillance device. This is how many times I've demanded from Todd Baxter out-of-state travel such as Ryan Fisher going to Atlanta, Georgia. This is how many times from Sandra Doorley and Todd Baxter I've demanded there's sexual harassment going on, Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office. This is why I corrupt what I have in my hand here. UPS, United States Postal Service, your entire sick, disgusting, repulsive existence is tax dollars. That's why I'm using the United States Postal Service upon you to demand public information. So, Christopher, what are you talking about? You walked outside and told a man on a tractor that nobody owns the land next to your residence, and 6 police officers showed up where you live and you were arrested for telling a man on his tractor that nobody owns the land next to your residence. And Christopher, you went to a gym near where you live, and a man stood over you and punched you in the face, and you're violently attacked, and then the police officer arrived, and you went out and you were sitting in the backseat of the vehicle, and the man who attacked you said he wanted to press charges against you, and that's who was charged with harassment second, and I don't understand who you're harassing. And Christopher, two police officers wait outside your residence and hit on the private property of your neighbor who lives across from you. They ran at you, and you turned around and ran away, and you ran up your back porch, and one of the police officers said you swung a hammer at him? What are you talking about, Christopher? This is not the exact language my mother is using, but this is what she's communicating to me in total confusion. My 82-year-old mother, I'm trying to talk to her. I moved to where I used to live, at 26 Sandra Farm Drive in Penfield with my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, who I've known for 35 years. So we get to walk through the parking lot where Laura's hired at the Penfield Public Library. And I don't know, Penfield Town Court is down the hall from the library entrance, even though I'd go see Laura. My dentist, Dr. Gloria Nichols, is at 2033 Penfield Road, and everything is normal. I walk through the parking lot. I go to Gold's Gym. I go to Wegmans. I'm doing other things with my life that's important. Quickest ways to go to a parking lot. Walk through a parking lot just like Penfield High School students, just like my excellent friend Adam, who lives next to me, just like his parents, the elderly woman across the street, the parade of human beings walk through this parking lot from 7 a.m. till midnight that I could see from my couch in my living room. This is ordinary normal. Dr. Gloria Nichols is my dentist at 2033 Penfield Road, who I'd walk by and she would say hello. She was so nice and friendly, I decided this should be my dentist. She's right here. Dr. Nichols moves her practice down Penfield Road, and Neeraj Shah and Leila Kumar Shah move into the building. So I'm going about my life and everything is normal. Where I have never been arrested, and I have 2 speeding tickets my whole life. One in Albany, New York, that was dismissed when I went to court, and one in Washington, D.C. that was dismissed when I went to court. What do you think it says about a life of a human being that's 50 years old and has 2 speeding tickets, Todd Baxter, Sandra, Doorley? The answer from you is nothing. Doesn't matter to you. A 50-year-old man who lives with his 70-year-old mother. I'm in the process of writing a criminal complaint about him. He's an attorney, too, this Neeraj Shah. About these order of protections you, Paul Semester, writing for these 2 where I've never met either one. So I'm walking through the parking lot one day, and there's Neeraj Shah screaming at me while my back is turned. I'm walking away. I walk up to him. I say, what's the problem? He does not get out of his vehicle, continues to scream at me. As I walk away, with my back turned now, I tell him to fuck off, and I give him the official finger of Brooklyn, New York, which I'm giving to you, Sandra, during Todd Baxter. I've used this exact language because corruption requires repetition. I don't know if you're watching me. Because when I go to the United States Department of Justice, I'll say I've said this to you over and over and over. It's not a crime for me to walk through this parking lot, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley. Do you understand what I just said? This is like Danny and Colleen Wegman going to the sheriff's office about me walk through their parking lot. It is the same exact thing, and that would never happen because that's fanaticism. Shannon Meyer calls me Todd Baxter. I've said this over and over. I'm not going to dwell on this part, but she's a freak. She is the freak of the sheriff's office. How long has she been there? I'm going to demand length of employment at the sheriff's office for this $67,000 freak. She calls me. She tells Steve Desmond to ride his tractor by where I live. I come outside and say nobody owns that land and walk back in my residence. That's not a crime, Todd Baxter. Do you understand what I just said? Todd Baxter, focus on what I'm saying. Do you know it's not a crime for me to walk outside and tell a man on his tractor that nobody owns the land next to where I live, which I already know because Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Office of Real Property Tax Service, can't confirm anything. And these 2 parasites that you've unleashed upon me, Neeraj and Leila Kumar Shah, don't have documentation. What do you fail to understand, you skinhead stooge and party switcher? Todd Baxter, why are you a Democrat? Do you know why? Because you're a fraud. Because you're a liar. Because you'll say anything. If you were asked why are you a Democrat, it's not going to be the usual things. It's going to be the bumbling and stumbling and rambling from you. It's not going to be the things, the ideas that animate true Democrats. Because you're not a true Democrat. You're a say anything fraud. Todd Baxter. And I'm going to show you again why you're a say anything fraud. I was on it. I'm calling Todd Todd Baxter's contraption here, a surveillance device. I returned from my run on Willow Pond Way, which connects to 26 Sanders Run Drive, and I see the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee in my driveway. And so I'm looking at the vehicle. I'm already running. I decide I'm going to continue to keep running because I'm not talking to these freaks from the sheriff's office. I'm already running. Well, what I don't know is that this is a civilian with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee, who's Lindsay Barron in the Monroe County Office of Mental Health. She sees me as I turn around and begin to run back down Willow Pond Way, where I just came from. I run back down Willow Pond Way. Here comes the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee with Lindsay Barron in the Monroe County Office of Mental Health. I'm running, and Lindsay Barron, with your Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee, who's not out on the road policing the roads, who's not investigating any case, who's not confronting violent crime and violent criminals in Monroe County. He's there with this mental health bureaucrat driving her alongside me, and she is screaming at me outside the vehicle. I want to talk to you, Chris. I want to talk to you, Chris, over and over about the surveillance device that's right here. Todd Baxter, you disgusting, repulsive, evil, vile, hacking criminal. Is this private technology at 2025 Penfield Road for a business called Consumer Insights, or did you buy it and fix it from me, you Benito Mussolini skinhead? What's the answer? So in Rochester, New York. Xerox is not here anymore. It used to be Red X, from my understanding. In 2005, the Red X was taken off Xerox Tower, from what I read. And I think they're converting it into an apartment complex. And I walk by there. I sometimes would sit out there in the summertime and I look up at it. And I'm old enough at my age where I remember I worked at this small company when I was going to SUNY Stony Brook on Long Island called the H.A. Gooden Company. It was in Lake Ronkonkoma and made small hinges, about 50 people to this company. And people would say at this business, I need to make a Xerox. It's like a Kodak moment. I need to make a Xerox right here in Rochester. Kodak moment right here in Rochester. Xerox is not in Rochester. From what I read, they moved some employees out to Webster, and they're converting that tower. And then I've been by. I used to ride my bike by, and I still ride my bike by, pardon me. Kodak. It looks like a ghost town down there. It is so depressing around that area. So Kodak and Xerox are the tragedy of Rochester, New York. And where I live, here on Pleasant Street, is right here. I don't know if you can see this. This is a loft I'm in. Sometimes there's a glare on the phone. And I didn't know what this was. This is a business on the side of the building. And it says, Michael's Stern. Value-free clothes. So here I am on the 5th floor. Michael Stern. You can see this if you're on Pleasant Street. Well, it's right near East Main Street. This business was liquidated in 1977. So, you get what you deserve in life. The people of Rochester, New York, deserve you. You pathetic, corrupt diva, Sandra Doorley. The people of Rochester deserve you. You nauseating, revolting, corrupt cop. Todd Baxter, that's all you've been. Your pathetic life is a cop your whole life. You have wasted your life as a pathetic cop, Todd Baxter. The people of Rochester deserve Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court sentencing me to jail when he knows the prosecutor doesn't talk in court. That's because the prosecutor has never talked in court for me. So, my illegal eviction, every single thing I own is gone. And this is because of Neeraj Shah, who I'm in the process of filing criminal charges against. It's going to be a civil lawsuit against him. I'm going to attempt to remove him from the bar, just like I'm going to attempt to remove you from the bar, Sandra Doorley. This is falsely reporting an incident. It's not a crime from the Wilfred Parker line. So every single thing I own is gone, which includes my DD-214, what they held up before. I'm not going to dwell on this because I could possibly lose it if I talk about this. I had to get a copy of my DD-214. My original DD-214 that was in my 1980 Mercury Capri when I drove home from 2nd Squadron, 7th Cavalry, 101st Airborne Division on April 14th, 1988 is gone. This is a copy. So, because everything I own is gone because of you. Now, what I sent you, again, corruption requires repetition. Surveillance device, you're going to look at this picture here and you're not going to do anything. If an employee at the United States Department of Justice, an employee at the United States Attorney's Office, Western District, New York, Trinity, or Ross, South, perhaps asks you, is this private technology? Buy it for him. What's your answer, Todd Baxter? Think about the best lie. It's coming. Right here. It's coming, it's tracked, and you refuse to answer. And what I also sent you, which I'm going to update, are these here, where I'm again demanding names of my prosecutors to silence. Here, this is included. This is January 12th, and there are approximately 60 in here. It's January 12th. This is January 10th. There are approximately 60 in here. This is January 8th. There are approximately 60 in here. Every single time I demand names of my prosecutors, along with registered mail return receipt, and this is blank. You know how many of these I have? This is a blank Freedom of Information law. I have right here in my hand about 300. I just had done at Patrick's Print. These are all blank. All 300 of these I'm going to fill out in the next 2 to 4 weeks. And you refuse to comply with every single one. I'm telling you what you're going to do. I already know. Because corruption is predictable. And I can be predictable on what I'm going to say on here about what enrages me. And I hate it that I have to say that this enrages me, but it would enrage anyone. You're coming to my residence to demand I surrender my dog? This is Neeraj Shah and Layla Kumar Shah, who I filed criminal charges against. 7 years and 4,000 times I walk my Shih Tzu behind where I live. Land has no ownership. One day the back window flies open. An overweight woman is screaming at me. I bring my little guy in and walk through the parking lot. I ask her, what are you screaming at? She refuses to talk to me. 1 hour later, 2 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees are at my residence, Penfield Animal Control, and you, Todd Baxter, demanding my dog. This is why people hate the police. You will never know, Sheriff Todd Baxter, why American citizens hate the police. You know, I just told you why. So, now if I need to communicate with you, because you can block me on email, then I buy a phone. I can create a new Gmail account because you need a phone number now for Gmail. That's new. And then when I'm done with that Gmail, I only use it once. And I need to create a new Gmail. You know, I have another phone here. I'll buy phone after phone after phone so you can't block me. What's that say about you that you're blocking me when I'm demanding information from you? What that says is that you're corrupt and you will never know, despite the fact that I'm telling you, Todd Baxter and Sandra Doorley, Paul C. Messer and James Female Jr. and Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court, that you're corrupt. That's what I have left in my life. Those trash bags. That's it. This is because of you. This is a remnants of my life. Right here. These trash bags. Every single thing I own is gone. When I got out of Livingston County Jail in Geneseo, I ran back home from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office in Rochester. I don't know I'm locked out. I checked the front door. It's locked. I usually leave it open. I go around to the screen door, sliding screen door, which is broken. I just slide it. That's locked. It's been fixed. The key I have taped to my back porch has been removed. I went to Harris Whalen Park in Penfield. I slept in the park for 3 weeks. Antonino Spano, Fairport, New York, did this to me. And when I write the criminal complaint about him, locking me out without a court order, the law in the state of New York as I've been told by the Tenant Defense Project, my research online, and others, is that a tenant without a lease has nearly the same protections as a tenant with a lease. And to lock the doors and lock a citizen out, lock a tenant out, requires a court order. There is no court order. This Antonino Spano locked me out now. It could be his son. Giuseppe Spano locked me out. He's dead at 47 years old. He had multiple sclerosis. So the father can blame the son. But from the last picture I saw of him on Facebook, he was in a wheelchair. How's the son in a wheelchair going to lock me out? So I believe that Antonino Spano of Fairport, New York, did all this to me. And when I write the criminal complaint about him, you're not going to do a goddamn thing at the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office. Antonino Spano, locking the doors and locking me out without a court order, then contacting my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, who was copied here, with this ridiculous email address that begins SEND. You could call her and contact her and ask her if what I'm saying is accurate. Because there's going to be criminal charges against my ex-girlfriend, too. She's refusing to tell me what happened, even though she's the one that rented the storage locker and contacted my sister, Barbara Stevens of Glenwood, Maryland, to pay for it. There are multiple crimes here committed upon me by my ex-girlfriend, by my former landlords, by the employees of the sheriff's office, by employees of the district attorney's office, by employees of Pamphlet Town Court, and by an employee of New York State Supreme Court, which I bring to the attention of the United States Department of Justice, and which I've already brought to your attention. And it doesn't matter what I'm saying on here, because you're corrupt. Every inch of you, Todd Baxter, Sandra, Doorley, Paul C. Metro, James Finley Jr., and Alex Renzi, is corrupt. So I'm not going to read these Freedom of Information Law documents, because I'll be back on here, I hope, tomorrow, or at least in the next 48 hours. And it is time-consuming for me to write everyone out, then walk down to Park Avenue, 620 Park Avenue, where the UPS is, get that done, buy a new phone, prepare to be on here because I have notes that I look at. I just don't sit down here and talk like an idiot. And I hope I'm not being an idiot. I really do, because you just never know how people perceive you in life. And that's a concern of mine. And a concern of mine is how I've been fundamentally altered as a human being. I no longer exist as the person I was 5 years ago prior to your destruction of my life. I'm a completely different human being as far as how I look at the trustworthiness of human beings, the fundamental decency of human beings. And now I absolutely believe in evil and how evil can destroy a life. A landlord that locks the doors on a tenant and that tenant doesn't know, and that tenant is confined to sleeping outside for 3 weeks, is evil. I'm not going to go on about evil, because there are other things that have happened to me that, to me, meet the definition of evil. What do you think about what I'm saying here to you? At the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office, and Pamphlet Town Court. Does it matter? And the answer is no. It doesn't matter at all. That you're freaks. That you're psychopaths. That you're sociopaths. That you're anything in life that does not respect human decency. So, Harry Duckles. I'm not going to read this again, but what's the problem? What would you think, Perry Duckles, if you had a friend or family member sentenced to jail and a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? Have you heard the phrase, the lives of others? I believe that's a foreign film. The lives of others. About what happened in East Germany. But that's what I have left of my life. I don't know if you can see that with the glare, but that's the loft I live in. I'm glad I'm here because I'm not where my previous residence was. My previous residence was the Salvation Army at 70 Liberty Pole Way. And the reason why I'm not at the Salvation Army anymore is that Robert Valente and Lori Pepper Wasiski at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs helped me. That's why. I've been helping individuals with hearts of gold, which you wouldn't know anything about. because you have hearts of stone. The sheriff's office and district attorney's office, Penford Town Court, New York State Supreme Court. And this is what I can see. Through this window right here where I'm pointing my finger, that's the transit center. When I stand in that window, that's what I see. So there's Kodak, which is not in Rochester, as far as what Kodak is supposed to be. There's Xerox, which is not in Rochester. And here's the transit center right in the middle of the city where twin brothers Donald and Ronald Brown beat to death Amani Allen. And right in front of the transit center are the city of Rochester police vehicles. And I have never once seen a city of Rochester police officer on foot walking a designated beat of patrol, despite the fact that Amani Allen was murdered by these twin brothers. Todd Baxter, do you think that the city of Rochester should have police officers on foot because they're isolated in their vehicles? Do you know about the work of the late, great James Q. Wilson, you party-switching stooge and skinhead? Have you read his work? These transit center freaks are everywhere. I have lived in the city in Albany, New York, right next to the Capitol. I've lived in Washington, D.C., right next to the Capitol on C Street. I lived on State Street in Albany, New York, next to the Capitol. I lived on C Street next to the United States Capitol for 10 plus years of my life. I am a city person, despite the fact that I grew up in the suburbs of Long Island. 10 years of my life I've been right in the heart of a city. I have never seen a city of freaks like Rochester, New York. There are freaks everywhere. It's the freaks asking for money. It's the freaks coming up to you for no reason. It's the freaks that are just going to be violent because they're violent freaks. This is your city, and you let this happen in your city. There's a woman who is constantly around the transit center, and again today twice, because I was outside multiple times. Can I have $1? Was her whole thing. And I used to have sympathy when I would see the news when I was going to SUNY Stony Brook, and you get the New York City news on channel 2, 4, and 7. I see these people in the streets asking for money. I didn't quite understand it. Now I understand what that does to a city. If you have police officers on foot and walking around the city, these people asking for money, who are really a menace to society, are not going to be doing that. And then the city's going to be safer. And you, Todd Baxter, I'm going to guess, I don't know. I'll guess you have no contact whatsoever about the mayor and about the City of Rochester Police Department because you just view yourself as just a separate entity when you shouldn't. Any citizen asking for money and being a menace to society and constantly going up to other citizens should be identified by the police, and that happens when there's a police officer on foot. And it's a quality of life issue. I go into these convenience stores where I live, and the freaks are in the convenience stores, yelling and screaming inside the convenience stores. This is behavior I've never seen in Albany, New York, and Washington, D.C. I could talk perhaps for another 30 to 60 minutes on the freaks I see every day and have seen for a year now. Rochester, New York is a city of freaks. And this city of freaks elects you as a freak, Sandra Doorley, and elects you as a freak, Todd Baxter. So, is there some confusion about what I'm saying here? You already have the Freedom of Information Law documents that I'm going to read again in the next 24 to 48 hours. This is right here. You have this. This one here is December 8th. On December 8th, I demanded the names of my prosecutors, and you refused. If you watch me, I'm going to tell you what you're thinking. Because you're psychopaths at the district attorney's sheriff's office. How do we arrest him? How do we concoct criminal charges for him? I'm going to tell you how you can do it. You could use Pretrial Services Corporation and Jamie Belliard on me. Because perhaps I need to make a phone call. I'm told I'm finished and done with Pretrial Service Corporation in 1984 of Monroe County, and it's an abomination you think is justice. Pretrial Service Corporation, where I had to call her and check in. There's no trial schedule for me. If I have to call, and I did multiple times, I even went down there multiple times, Jamie Belliard of Pretrial Service Corporation, I should have a trial scheduled. Do you know why Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, and Jamie Belliard? Pre-trial is the name. She called me and left a message on me saying, I haven't heard from you, and I may have to call the court, or words to that effect. I'm not saying that she was threatening me with anything, but I certainly thought it was something like that. Like, this could be bad for me. I went right down there because I was in fear of being returned to jail because I didn't make a phone call for her and didn't check in, which I believe can still happen to me. You will find a way as Psychopaths Incorporated, that is your revolting existence, Todd Baxter and Sandra Doorley, to either use something like this 1984 Pretrial Services Corporation, or you just concoct something else for me. You concoct crimes for innocent citizens because you corrupt Sandra Doorley and Todd Baxter. So, I bought things to keep myself motivated. Have you ever heard the album 10 by Pearl Jam? Because it has a song, I'm Still Alive, on it by the great Eddie Vedder. I have it on my wrist. I'm still alive. Winston Churchill. Never, never, never give up. So, this is what I carry around with me. I have this on my belt. Because I came back when I live on Pleasant Street a few weeks ago at about 9 o'clock at night, and I have to use what's called the fob, which is an electronic key to get into where I live. And there's two men standing right there in the door where I cannot get in. These are the transit center freaks. There's not anybody who lives in this building. I've seen nearly all the faces, and you can tell someone that lives in a building here with the rent and just how they behave. These are the freaks. I'm staring at them at 9 o'clock at night. They're staring at me, and I said loudly, I need to get into my building. And they're not moving. And I'm thinking this could be a violent confrontation right here with these two. And they did move because a car drove up. So then I bought what I just showed you and wear it on my belt. My understanding is that it's legal. So when you arrest me the next time, you concoct another crime for me, you see me, you can see that this is going to be on my hip. Anybody in Rochester, New York, when it gets dark out, that doesn't have something like I have is insane. To be walking around here at night. I do not go out at night if I don't have to. I only go outside if there's something I need to do. And that's also what I never did. When I lived in Washington, D.C., there were times I'd leave my residence. I lived at 111 C Street next to the Capitol. I'd go for a walk. I'd go see a friend, some colleagues, my girlfriend, her name is Mindy. I'd go see her on Constitution Avenue. And in Albany, New York, I'd do the same thing and walk around the city. I didn't have any fear. I have fear. I hate to say that, too. When I see the freaks in Rochester, New York, and what's around where I live, and what's on East Main Street. It's not only East Main Street, it's the other streets too. Going all the way into Brighton. From the time I leave here, if I go to the Brighton Memorial Library, which I would do during the summertime, I'd walk in there, I'm passing freak after freak. You know, especially the can I have a dollar lady. Do you know who I'm talking about at the sheriff's office, district attorney's office? She is everywhere with this can I have a dollar. Her whole thing is can I have a dollar. I'm not saying she should be arrested, but there must be some type of panhandling laws where she's ticketed, where she has to make an appearance saying every time she asks for money, well, it's going to cost her $30. So something needs to be done about these people that are outside in the city of Rochester that are menaces to society, and that's the word exactly what they are. They don't have to be the Crips and the Bloods to be the menace to society. Somebody that's constantly asking for money and their whole existence is to approach strangers all day long is a menace to society, and you don't even know about that because you, Todd Baxter, and you, Sandra Doorley, menaces to society. So now, I'm going to tell you my address here where you can send an arrest warrant, or you can send Siemens to violently attack me again, just like I did at the Penfield Public Library. My head slammed against ceramic tile. I'll file criminal charges against Siemens. I do not know his first name. You know his name. He walked into Penfield Public Library, ran at me, clotheslined me, slammed his arm to the side of my head. I fell down. My head hit the ceramic tile. Siemens did this to me. A sworn officer of law with that badge and a weapon violently attacking me, just like the other psychopath with your female employee with the Marine-style haircut and tattoos, watched him run at me, knocked me to the ground outside the pharmacy entrance to Wegmans with your 5 vehicles and 10 employees. I have 10 witnesses of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that saw a Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee exit his vehicle, run at me, knock me to the ground. My head slammed down on a concrete pavement, and I had to get an MRI. I'm in that MRI tube. I can feel the back of my head pounding because this animal that works for you attacking me right outside the pharmacy entrance to Wegmans. So ask your female employee with the Marine-style haircut and tattoos what his name is, Todd Baxter, and fire him. and you're not going to do anything. You know why? You're the blue wall of silence. It's perfectly acceptable when your Monroe County Sheriff Office employees commit violent crimes and attack innocent citizens. Sheriff Todd Baxter. So, is there some confusion about what I've been saying to you here for this 39 minutes? It's going to be 40 minutes momentarily. Are you confused? Because you are. Because corruption is confused. That's exactly what you are at that sheriff's office and district attorney's office. You require the attention of the employees at the United States Department of Justice. And you, Sandra Doorley, and you, Todd Baxter, must be removed from office for violating my civil and constitutional rights. My name is Christopher John Chester. I'm an innocent man.